welcome to my final project. I chose NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement. So NAFTA's contribution to the United States has proven to be both helpful as well as hurtful to the United States as a whole. The agreement not only affects the economy, but it also affects people's everyday lives. So NAFTA is a free trade agreement between Mexico, the United States, and Canada, and it's the second largest free trade agreement in the world. So its objective was to eliminate tariffs or taxes on goods exported and imported among the three countries, and to defend and protect those nations' patents, copyrights, and trademarks, and to eliminate trade barriers, create a more fair competition, have better investment opportunities, and resolve trade disputes. So when did this happen? The agreement was signed on December 17th, 1992, but it actually became effective on January 1st, 1994. And the idea was actually created by Ronald Reagan, and it was part of his 1980 presidential campaign. So the signing took place in San Antonio, Texas. It was authorized by US President George Bush, Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, and Mexican President Carlos Salinas, and there they all are. So what happened next? In 1994, NAFTA aligned with the North American Environmental Cooperation Agreement as well as the North American Agreement for Labor Cooperation in 1993. These provisions made to the original agreement were meant to update its overall effectiveness. So the updated result, it aided in setting more environmental standards and contributed to cutting down on pollution, as well as it helped individuals and employees demand for more fair wages and for better working conditions. So now let's look at the long-term effects. So this is a chart comparing US trade with Canada and Mexico, and we can see the increase over time. So as a result of taking away trade taxes, the United States is able to export a lot more product to Mexico. American companies save on exporting and Mexican companies save on importing, although the less wealthy side of Mexico does suffer from that, but I'll get to that later, and Canada also experiences benefit from this. So NAFTA and Mexican immigration. So it increased the number of migrants coming to the US from Mexico, which gradually led to a large surge in illegal immigration. Due to tariffs no longer being able to protect small businesses, a multitude of Mexican small business owners became unable to compete with the economically regulated commodity rates for US goods, and this caused American agricultural output to dominate the position of Mexican farmers. So NAFTA proves a negative impact for the people on the poorer side of Mexico's economy. So NAFTA and trade in the US. In 2017, trade between the three countries had tripled since NAFTA had started, and there's been a significant increase for the US, which is very beneficial, and you can see this is just a dairy example for exports, and we can see again the increase over time. So NAFTA and unemployment/employment in the US. So since NAFTA came into effect, an estimated 680 to 900,000 people with manufacturing jobs have become unemployed. However, an estimated 5 million jobs have been created since NAFTA became effective. So here's a chart of job growth in the US, and we can see again an increase. So yeah, this was beneficial and damaging to the US's employee rates. And then here's the manufacturing jobs in the US, and we can see a major decrease. So NAFTA and worker wages in the US, so this actually increased the average wage, but it suppressed wages for some factory workers. So it was favorable for most people, but very detrimental to factory workers. So this is representing average and then the manufacturing workers. So pros of NAFTA on the US, of course: increased trade, it improved the economy, jobs were created, average wages were increased, the oil became cheaper, healthcare funds increased, It helped a little in environmental efforts and also a little in working conditions. And then the cons of NAFTA. So many jobs were lost, mainly manufacturing jobs, cut wages for remaining factories. There was a surge in illegal immigration, which still affects us today, and many Mexican workers and farmers were laid off or went out of business, which is very sad. So, in conclusion, the North American Free Trade Agreement can be viewed as both beneficial and detrimental to the United States ever since it came into effect. The agreement not only provides free trade amongst Canada and Mexico, but its terms also brought on a significant series of events that changed the US for both negative and positive. This agreement is still a contributing factor to our economy as a whole and the livelihood of US citizens. So, thank you for listening.